let's go ahead and start. I think we have a good number or critical mass. So again, for the ones who just joined, this is a briefing on our workload analysis. And I went ahead and shared the link on the chat, so I can go ahead and reshare it for the folks who were a little bit delayed. So on that, I will go ahead and just provide a quick run through on how we're going to be conducting this briefing. So we're going to take about 20 minutes or so to just go through the presentation. And then from there, we're going to allow about 20 to 25 minutes for question and answers. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to put them on the chat, and we'll go ahead and address those questions at the end of the presentation. And then if not, just go ahead and raise your hand and we'll put you in the queue. And with that, I will hand it off to Dr. Meredith Williams, who will provide a quick introduction for us.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to see folks. It feels like it's been forever since I've seen a number of you, and I'm glad to see the attendance today. Gabby, I'm going to keep things moving, so could you go to the next slide? Obviously, this is a conversation that a number of you have been waiting for quite some time. You're fee payers. You are impacted by our work. You're in the regulated community, and therefore you want to know, are we using the funds we get wisely? How does that translate into what we're able to do? And so we're here today to talk about that. And you know, really, it's in the context, of course, our workload analysis that we'll focus on today is really in the context of this larger comprehensive fee reform that the administration, governance and fee reform proposal that the administration has put forth. So we want to talk about it a little bit. Francesca Negri, our chief deputy, who you know well, will walk through some of the details in the workload analysis findings. And then, as Deanna said, we will have time for questions and answers. So next slide, please. I think we know why the work of DTSC matters. I was really pleased during the reform conversations that started last year. And even going back further to our discussions around the strategic plan, there is a sense of urgency that DTSC be able to do the work that we're charged with doing, be able to meet our mission. And that's to manage the toxic materials that are part of our everyday lifestyle responsibly, and protect people from them through all stages of those materials. So, of course, we're challenged. We estimate that since the fees were last addressed and revised, there have been more than 90 statutes or authorities that the statutory mandates or authorities that the department has been given. So that does make it challenged given the relatively static fee structure that we're working with. Next slide, please. And obviously that translates into how much cleanup work we can do, whether or not we're effective in, you know, creating that level playing field by enforcing hazardous waste laws and holding the egregious polluters accountable, and then of course fully implementing our safer consumer products. All of these things depend on having adequate resources to do the job. Next slide, please. The proposal that the administration has put forth, and I'll say up front that I know that the Jan 10 budget doesn't have the level of detail that you're eager to see. I'm sure the devil is in the details, but it really is a proposal that answers three distinct questions. First is, what program should DTSC be delivering? And then the question becomes, what revenues are needed to support the work and to really allow DTSC to deliver those programs, and what kind of fee structure would actually be sensible in terms of disincentivizing the use of hazardous materials. And thirdly, what governance structure really addresses the long-term call for more transparency and accountability in the department. And we have a strong commitment to community engagement. There's been a strong demand for that. And so whatever governance structure goes in place needs to be responsive to that need. So those are the three questions. The workload analysis itself really is focused on that first question, first and foremost. It really outlines the programs that we have, some of the programs, not all of our programs, and, you know, gives people a sense of what it would take to deliver those. Next slide, please. So it hopefully you've had a chance to look at it already. It really is our snapshot. It's a snapshot of what we do in each of our 4 or 3 core programs. Although I will say what we're calling each core program is a little different than what you're probably used to. I know you're used to hazardous waste management program, but that's actually 4 sub-core program analyses that are included. And what it really is it's an analysis, it's a discussion of the service level. We wanted to make sure people understood what the department can do when we're adequately resourced. So we included some findings of where we're being successful and what that looks like, and where we could be more successful. Given more resources. It is only an estimate. It is not a detailed budget change proposal. It is a vehicle for discussion. This discussion today is the first of what we are confident will be many discussions, and it's going to take people a while to absorb the information. We still need to provide additional detail to all of you about what underlies the numbers that were reported in the executive summary. And so the one thing I also want to highlight is we have a lot of statutory authorities. We did not analyze every single one of those. And so again, we could do that, but we prioritized which ones to analyze based on either what we know to be urgent needs, policy priorities, or what we know our stakeholders are demanding that we look at. So with that, I'm gonna, next slide, please. Just turn it over to Francesca. She'll walk you through the details and, really tell you what we found in the workload analysis. So, Francesca?
Sorry about that. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for being here today and taking time out of your busy schedule. I'll try to be as succinct as possible, and if I'm moving too fast or you have questions, please feel free to interrupt me. Gabby, can I have the next slide, please? First of all, I want to talk a little bit about our approach. As Meredith indicated, we have 3 core programs, but 4 sub-core programs under the hazardous waste management program. So there were a total of 6 core program workload analyses that we conducted. We also included in this phase of the workload analysis our Office of Information Management, primarily because of its critical nature and relationship to our core program's ability to deliver on its mission. I know all of you as business owners understand the value of technology in the work that you do, and we also absolutely rely upon it. The method that we used is for the analysis itself included looking at current staffing levels, including available employee hours, and program deliverables such as the number of permits issued, the number of facilities inspected, or the number of sites cleaned. And we can do that because we have a very sophisticated timekeeping system where employees record their time and code it to a particular activity or a particular project, and we were able to pull that data from that system and analyze it against our deliverables. And one of the things we found is the majority of staff time in these programs was spent on technical duties, from 63 to 75%. And the remaining time was spent on administrative functions such as mandatory state training and technical training that staff need in order to stay current on their skills, as well as improvement projects, Lean Six Sigma projects, and other strategic priorities that the department is implementing to improve on its service levels. As Meredith indicated, the analysis did not while it did identify a shortage of resources necessary to deliver some of our statutory authorities or strategic priorities. It wasn't a comprehensive analysis of every single statutory authority that the department has the ability to deliver a service or program under, but it does identify the top priority services that this administration and DTSC believes are absolutely crucial to deliver its mission. Next slide, please. So the first program under hazardous waste management that I'm going to talk about is the permitting division. As you probably are aware, it oversees approximately 100 facilities throughout the state that treat, store, or manage California's hazardous waste. We've invested quite a bit of time and resources into our permitting program, and it's really paid off. The program's implemented multiple process improvements over the past several years, significantly reducing the amount of time it takes to issue a permit. And also, the improvements have led to more enforceable and sensible permits. So now the average time it takes to issue a permit decision is 2.5 years, whereas in 2013 it was 5 years. We have a goal of making 16 permit decisions annually and making 90% of our permit decisions within 2 years, and we are progressing toward that goal. Because of these improvements, the permitting division actually our analysis of this program didn't result in the identification of a lot of resource gaps. But we do have a couple of key areas, one being the violation scoring procedure. VSP was a significant policy change for the department, and under this process, each facility receives an inspection score as well as a facility score that aggregates 10 years of inspection scores. And the permitting division uses these scores to make permit decisions or permit modifications. And the other area that we identified as needing some resources was in our CEQA document review unit. This is a unit that reviews documents submitted by other agencies, specifically for DTSC to use its expertise in reviewing whether or not there is potential environmental harm, and we are insufficiently resourced to manage that workload at this time. So moving on to the Enforcement and Emergency Response Division. This is the second program under Hazardous Waste Management Program. It's responsible for inspecting or overseeing inspections of enforcement of over 100,000 hazardous waste generators and facilities. And these inspections provide the local communities with some confidence that hazardous waste is being managed legally and safely in their communities. It's also responsible for providing emergency response, hazardous waste cleanup, and has been accelerating the cleanup activities associated with California's devastating wildfires that we've been experiencing in the past couple of years. It's received some limited resources over the past few years, which has enabled us to increase inspections of transporters and metal recyclers, particularly in vulnerable communities. Since fiscal year 15-16, we've increased our annual inspection rate of transporters from an average of 50 to 144, and we are now inspecting an average of 14 metal recycling facilities each year. And just to provide you with some context for those numbers, there are approximately 900 registered transporters in California and over 2,000 metal recycling facilities. EERD has also implemented its own process improvements. Examples of the outcomes of those include significantly reducing the time to assess and approve administrative penalties by over 60% and issue inspection reports by over 50%. We've also developed and implemented a comprehensive training program. So the workload analysis for EERD identified gaps in 3 core areas. The first is in conducting transporter inspections. The workload analysis identified the need to inspect transporters once every 3 years instead of the once every 5 year cycle they're currently on. We found that when transporters are not consistently inspected, there's a high rate of violations. The second area is to provide technical guidance and support to the California Unified Program Agencies, or CUPAs. These resources are crucially necessary to ensure that we provide CUPAs with the technical support and guidance so that they can conduct their hazardous waste inspections and enforcements that are under their jurisdiction appropriately. And then finally, to implement the provisions of 673 violation scoring procedure, EERD plays a significant role in the implementation of this program. They're responsible for developing and maintaining the processes, developing and tracking a tracking system for violations and maintaining that, and creating an administrative record for each facility, which includes the documentation necessary to score 10 years worth of violations. And these resources are really crucial to ensuring that this pioneering legislation achieves its full goal of assisting permitted facilities with complying with hazardous waste laws and doing it in a very transparent way for the public. Next slide, please. So the third program under hazardous waste management program is our Office of Criminal Investigations. And this program is the only program under Cal EPA with sworn peace officers that pursue businesses and individuals who criminally violate hazardous waste control laws. And they're specifically trained to investigate the most egregious violations or criminal offenses. They conduct statewide investigations jointly with federal, state, and local law agencies. And these multi-agency investigations are primarily conducted in environmental justice communities. They're pivotal to Cal EPA's vision for enforcement, as well as their ability to effectively pursue criminal activity. One example of the benefit of this program is when they were given limited resources to pursue distributors and sellers of metal-containing jewelry, particularly children's jewelry. And in 2017, they inspected 28 jewelry stores. 21 had violations. The workload analysis identified the need for additional inspections or additional resources to conduct 50 to 100 additional inspections each year to address some critical areas. One is illegal cannabis grows. These typically involve illegal pesticides that are illegally disposed of and are extremely toxic and hazardous to the environment and to the public. Another area that needs a particular focus is to increase the number of inspections that DTSC conducts as a result of complaints that we receive from other state, local, and federal agencies, particularly those in vulnerable communities. And finally, to increase the number of inspections DTSC conducts on distributors and sellers of metal-containing jewelry based on our experience with this industry. Next slide, please. The Policy and Program Support Branch is responsible for developing and interpreting hazardous waste management statutes, and they provide technical guidance to the public and to businesses. They are responsible for interpreting regulations and managing the federal RCRA grant and maintaining DTSC's status as a RCRA authorized state. It basically provides all the regulatory and policy foundation to ensure hazardous waste are managed legally and safely in California. In fiscal year 18-19, and I do have to say this, I regret, so I apologize for not saying it earlier, and the data that we analyzed in this workload analysis was from fiscal year 18-19. In 18-19, PPSB responded to more than 6,000 regulatory questions, provided 700 written responses to partner agencies and the public, and conducted 75 evaluations of site-specific applications for certification. So that's just an example of the type of work they do. The analysis identified the need for additional resources to conduct our RCRA authorization process, which is necessary to maintain our delegated authority for enforcing RCRA hazardous waste requirements in California. And the reason this is important is that this allows us to ensure that there are one set of standards for managing RCRA waste in California, rather than a federal standard and a state standard for each site-specific situation. We also identified the need to renew the pollution prevention program to help businesses implement pollution prevention strategies that would result in less generation of solid and hazardous waste, use fewer toxic chemicals, conserve water and energy, and reduce pollution. And ultimately, these strategies will have the downstream impact of fewer contaminated sites to clean up for California. Moving on to the next program, we analyzed our Safer Consumer Products program. And many of you know that this program is charged with accelerating the quest for use of safer chemicals in consumer products. And to do this, the program requires that manufacturers of products that contain chemicals that have been determined to be hazardous or a high risk to human health or the environment to search for safer alternatives. And since they were implemented in 2014, their resources have, which were always projected to be implemented on a phased approach, they were primarily used for building a new program composed of a multidisciplinary team of scientists and engineers who employ a science-based approach to leverage multi-million-dollar markets and manufacturers' interests. Along with multiple new products in the queue, SAFER successfully regulated the first 3 priority products and is putting them through the alternative analysis process. An example of their early success is related to were the actions they took on children's foam padded sleeping products, and these are known as nap mats, which initiated a change in a $325 million industry and prevented the exposure of potentially millions of infants and toddlers to carcinogenic chemicals. The workload analysis did identify additional resources necessary to fully implement this program to meet its statutory mandates and to ensure that it has the capacity to make a meaningful impact on the large universe of consumer products under its authority. Without augmentation of resources, SAFER will be forced to shift resources to the regulatory response, compliance, and enforcement processes, and the pipeline of priority products that identify chemicals of concern for DTSC's focus will be significantly delayed. And so in other words, the capacity for new products will be reduced by roughly 80%, and the program's ability to process more impactful and complex consumer products will be impacted or limited. The final core program we analyzed is the Site Mitigation and Restoration Program. Its basic purpose is to investigate contaminated sites and then to clean up the contamination, or to oversee the removal of hazardous waste so that they can be returned to useful purpose. It also oversees voluntary cleanups by developers who are remediating sites for redevelopment and manages grant funds for cost recovery to support our financial planning office. There are an estimated 200,000 contaminated sites in California, and we are responsible for cleaning up those sites where there is no responsible party. Recently, the program only has had enough resources to conduct cleanups at sites where the contamination is already known or characterized. And so it hasn't had the resources necessary to investigate sites where there's suspected contamination based on prior industry use. The result of that is basically that we have continued exposure to harmful chemicals. Nearly a third of people live within a mile of a site where DTSC is conducting an oversight of a cleanup, and 46% of those are environmental justice communities. The program's work revitalizes communities, and they work with the developers to ensure that these properties are safe to build on. DTSC currently oversees 1,800 sites, or about 1% of the 200 sites at which there is undiscovered contamination. And additionally, there are 15,000 known contaminated sites that we know need assessment, whose chemical legacy can threaten, including 8,600 dry cleaner sites whose chemical legacy can threaten groundwater and people in nearby structures. An example of the benefit of this work is right here in Sacramento. The old Sacramento Rail Yards cleanup was the largest infill project west of the Mississippi. And it will result in 10,000 new housing units, which include affordable apartments, a 17-story courthouse, a Kaiser Permanente medical complex, and a new Major League Soccer stadium. The cleanup program has, as I indicated, no site discovery program. This means no action is being taken to address the estimated 200,000 contaminated sites. By increasing service levels, the cleanup program could investigate sites and determine the type of contamination and take steps to remediate that contamination. And what you're looking at here on this slide is 3 different levels of service that are tied to different resource levels. I want to be clear, though, that these estimates are related to investigation, discovery and investigation, that constitutes the initial work that needs to be taken on contaminated sites, meaning that we estimate that for each of these cost scenarios, the cost would increase by 50% in year 4 as the investigation becomes more in depth and we move into actual construction or implementation of remediation strategies. So the final program included in this phase of the workload analysis, as I indicated, is our Office of Environmental Management. This is our technology program, and it was established to deliver information management and technology resources and services, including information security, to leverage common solutions and basically provide a secure infrastructure through which we deliver our programs. We're significantly under-resourced. This program has been analyzed, had a workload analysis twice in the past 5 years. The results are very consistent, that we are under-resourced to adequately respond to cybersecurity threats, and that's becoming more common and problematic in the public sector. We need to modernize the data management and governance structure, which is so critical to supporting our programs and to reducing security threats. And the recent analysis indicates, as did the previous, that we're deficient about 18.5 positions for the current workload. Any of the service levels that we've been discussing in this workload analysis related to the other programs, if we increase those service levels, we would need to increase OEIM's support levels as well. So we're estimating approximately $20 million to update our legacy systems, improve information security, and provide adequate staffing levels just for current workload. And I just want to say that those are rough estimates that will be subject to confirmation by California Department of Technology. One example of a success story that we've had in this particular program is we've been updating our cost recovery management system, which is currently on schedule for a 2021 implementation. And I bring that, I demonstrate that, or I'm bringing that to your attention because it does demonstrate that when we are given resources, we are able to deliver a project on time and within budget and scope. So those are the actual programs, or the core programs and one support program that we included in this phase of the workload analyses. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Meredith to close.
Thanks, Francesca. We gave Francesca a tough task because that's a lot of ground to cover in a short period of time. So, but thank you for that. And the workload analysis is really a tool for consideration as we go through the conversations about the comprehensive solution that the reform proposal provides. And it's very similar to last year, where we want to streamline the fee structure and create a model that would allow us to continue to do the work we need in the coming years. The board transparency and accountability measures that were proposed last year, I would actually say we learned a lot last year, because what the feedback we got was that what we considered accountability, a board in and of itself isn't enough to provide accountability. And so that's it's an area where I think we're going to have a lot of discussion moving forward. Because of the windfall that the state received, there is one-time funding in the budget this year. We are focusing that spending on cleanup, because our cleanup work so well aligns with the governor's priorities on economic revitalization with an equitable approach. and because we have a housing shortage. And so that's the investment that's being made now to clean up more orphan sites, to really do more of those investigations so that brownfield sites can be turned back into useful properties, and to build on the example that we have down in Los Angeles, where we have a worker training program as part of the Exide residential cleanup that trains people in doing the remediation work. We've hired dozens of those folks onto cleanup crews. It's been very successful, and we think it's a model to be replicated around the state. And then lastly, there is additional funding for the Exide cleanup. Next slide, please. So really, I think we've said what we had wanted to say. We really want to get into the listening mode. So I'll just turn it back to Deanna to manage the question and answer session. Thank you.
Awesome. No, thank you. And then now we can go into the Q&A segment. Like I mentioned, if there's questions that we are able to answer on the chat, please feel free to go ahead and use the chat. And then if not, we can actually take the Q. And I already see a hand. And you can use a little hand feature too, but I think I see Winston too. Go ahead, Winston.
All right, thank you. I've got several questions, if you don't mind, and we don't need to get them all answered here in this discussion. Maybe there'll be some follow-up information that you'll provide. My first observation is that on page 6, it would have been helpful, and I almost said something as you started the presentation, to ask if you would blend together not only your information about what you thought were your needs in order to meet statutory requirements, but proportionally show how much additional positions and money you think you need as compared to the base for each of those programmatic areas. I've kind of transferred information from one page to another. It gives some sense of what you think you need in addition. For example, 6 positions more are needed in the permit area, and be nice to have some sense of what you think that might do in terms of specific outcomes. I know that you've made some progress, for example, in this area in terms of getting permits processed more quickly, but some sense of what you think these additional 6 positions will do, some kind of commitment to further reduce the time frame within which permits are granted. That's first an observation. Let me just ask a couple of specific questions. It seems like what you've done is business as usual when we're not in a business as usual climate. You're assuming the base in terms of the budget that you have. The budget's not sustainable under current funding sources. And so everything is, well, we've got the base and we could do better if we had 511 more positions on top of about 1,000. It doesn't seem like what was intended in terms of this effort, given that you don't have enough funding under the current model. And obviously the reason that creates some kind of apprehension is if you're going to try and do this with no general fund and it's all going to be done on fees, here's a specific question for you. Have you done any modeling as to what that would mean in terms of specific fee changes that would be required, and how would it fall in terms of segments of the business community that would be asked to pay the additional fees? Have you done any modeling of that sort?
Okay, so I'm going to try to answer a number of your questions, and Francesca's going to help me. I'm quite sure of it. And I'm going to start with a little bit about the business as usual challenge, which is to say that part of what it takes to do a workload analysis is to use the data you have and to really characterize that. So we did want to characterize our as was situation and then do the relative, what could we get for additional resources above our baseline and kind of how we work now. there will be additional very detailed slide decks that will walk through what the expected outputs would be and outcomes would be for additional resources. And I'm going to let Francesca describe those in a little more detail in a minute. But I also I think that's really the high level response I want to give at this point. We can talk about modeling after Francesca maybe describes the slide decks.
Okay, so one other specific question, the overhead or support number, as you look at the information you provided again on page 6, 404 positions and X number of dollars. Our business does not have that level of overhead we couldn't run a business if we had overhead at that level. Is that just a given? Is that typical? Is all state government entities like that? To me, that's a huge amount of the total of your budget is on support.
Yeah, and so I will say that support is a very broad term. You know, as we describe it, we're talking about our lab, we're talking about our attorneys, and so support is a broad term. But the other part of that is we have been depriving that part of our organization for a very long time. So that's probably the area, as short-staffed as we are in all across the department. Our administrative offices, our support programs are probably the thinnest, meanest parts of the organization. So please bear that in mind when you think about those numbers. Francesca, can you just describe both the slide decks and the in-depth briefings that we'll have on the core programs?
Okay. So the slide decks are pretty data rich. They go through all of the detail I mentioned earlier, which is to analyze available employee hours against our outputs. We look at our classification structure. So all the data is provided in a quite detailed slide decks of approximately 25 to 30 pages each, which go through all of this information and align it with our statutory authorities and mandates. And then it includes the actual raw data in the appendices. So they're pretty comprehensive reports per program. And so what we're looking forward to is an opportunity to support the executive summary with that more detailed information for those who are interested in that level of analysis. So the second question you wanted me to answer, Meredith, was?
Just about the core program in-depth briefings.
Yeah, and so I just mentioned that, which is, again, to walk people through what we analyzed, this executive summary, we tried to synthesize the highest level messages from these slide decks to present the information in a consumable way. So I very much, Winston, appreciate your feedback on how we can do better presenting that information. It's really valuable to me. But an enormous amount of work went into this effort to take a look at, how we are using our current resources and where we can do better. And in these slide decks also include detail about the Lean Six and the Kaizen, efforts that we've been taking, applying to our business processes so that we can reduce the amount of time it takes for us to produce a service or a product, and so that we can, increase our efficiencies in our service to all of California. So every program's been undergoing some sort of process improvement. It's a requirement in our strategic plan. And so we've got some definite successes to show for that effort.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. Before we head to our next question, it came, it went. Never mind. I'll just ask you to move on, Deanna.
No, it's okay, Meredith, and definitely interrupt me. To add to that, in regards to the briefings, those briefings are actually going to be scheduled at the beginning of February. So the first 2 weeks, so look out for an email. And every email that we receive for this briefing is going to get an invite. So there's going to be 3 It's going to be really 4 core briefings, really breaking the programs apart and really going into these slide decks a little bit more. And that's where, hopefully Wednesday we're able to actually answer your questions regarding the hours and the activity and really the baseline. And this is something for us as more of a reset, so we can actually have a conversation where we should be before we start really having this conversation, like Meredith mentioned, on reform, because it's really difficult to have the reform conversation if we are not really aligned on the problem statement of the department. Okay.
Yeah, so your business, your definition of what it means to move away from business as usual may be very different from what we think is needed, and maybe very different from what other stakeholders need. So, we weren't too presumptuous about what that meant, but it is definitely going to be a focus of conversation.
Mm-hmm. With that, I know you said you had a couple questions. I don't know if we're, and definitely we can find another time. If not, I have a couple questions on the queue, but we'll see if there's anybody else who has questions. If not, we'll go into, so I received a couple questions through the chat, so definitely thank you for that. The first question is, will the department be sharing these slides after this meeting? And the answer is yes. So we'll go ahead and share the slides for your reference. The second question is, was this review requested by the legislature? Are there any governing principles? I could definitely answer that. Meredith, Francesca, do you guys want to?
I'm going to give it to Francesca pretty quickly because she has so much experience with workload analyses and how they're used around the state.
Okay, well, first of all, I would say there was no we didn't receive specific direction from the legislature to do this. But we did in our various hearings signal to the legislature that we were undertaking this. We did not receive a specific appropriation to do this. So we have spent a considerable amount of time internally just looking at our data and looking at the information. So I hope that answers the question. The legislature has been expecting the results of this, and we are sharing it with them, but they did not give us specific direction to do so.
Mm-hmm. And then another question that we received through the chat was, have you assessed whether your existing programs are really necessary and from what perspective?
Well, part of the analysis looked at what our statutory requirements are. And so some of the program elements that I discussed with you today are actually statutorily required. Again, I think the purpose of the workload analyses is to have a common understanding of what services we are currently resourced to deliver and what we're not. And that in the conversation about reform and what DTSC should be doing and maybe what we shouldn't be doing. So I feel like, this information is crucial to have this common understanding so that we're all starting from the same basic place and knowledge of what we're using our resources to do. And I think when you look at the detail, you're going to find that we're primarily using our resources for targeted activities to clean up, to issue permits, to conduct inspections, pretty basic things, to implement the mandatory, the statutory mandates that we have related to our Safer Consumer Products program. So these activities we either have a statutory authority to deliver or we have a mandate to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Can I comment on that? That's really kind of what I was alluding to when I just described it as the business as usual budget. In reading this document, one of the things that jumped out at me that I thought was good for you to make clear, you have been given a number of statutory requirements that you've not been given funding for. You made that abundantly clear. So let me say it in very clear terms. Why don't you go back to the legislature and say, we can't do this, undo what you've done requiring us to do this, this, or this, unless you figure out how to get us some money. And just say you've got to do it and then say you're going to do it on fees. Of course, that's like this for those that are going to pay the fees. What does that mean? So I'm trying to encourage you to present this information and to present your intentions in a way that reduces this and gives more of a feeling of, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I think we can manage our way through that. It's just a little bit too ambiguous the way you've presented it, I think. End of my comments.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good comment. Thank you, Winston. And this is the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah.
There are a lot of moving parts to try to reform this department. And so whether we're talking about the governance piece or what our authorities are or what the fees should look like, it's hard to, trying to make a workload analysis that stands on its own and provides the data to support the discussions is, in order to do that, you do miss out on some opportunities to really explore some of the questions you're raising.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it also provides us with that common understanding of what we're doing with the resources and what we're not. So to your point, Winston, now there's transparency about what we're doing and what we aren't, and that can help the conversations about what we should be doing in the future.
Okay. So I have,
Phil Ritale from Clean Harbors. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to.
Wait, Philip. I had Peter, I had Chris, Philip, and Don.
No cuts, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, of course, I agree with everything Winston says because he's the boss. But I always follow what Winston says. But a couple of things that are totally different in approach. One is that when we used to do zero-based budgeting and the like, we would take a look at not just what the workload is, but how we can process that workload better. Mm-hmm. And certainly long ago and far away, when I was in Francesca's position as Chief Deputy Director of the department, one of the things we looked at was at our department, and I will just describe it as that department, and they needn't apply to DTSC, but too much of the time, for every single matter, our folks ran in packs. We had too many people involved in every single matter because everybody had to be at the table all the time. Mm-hmm. And what we did was we started cutting down on the number of people involved. And when you need certain specialties, you do. You may need a geologist, a hydrologist, and a toxicologist, but it depends. But you may not need two of each. We also started managing more. And the one thing that Maureen Gorson destroyed in this department was any sense of management. And it's been rebuilding ever since. But what we did do was start saying, okay, you have this assignment. I expect it to be done by now. I'm dealing with this in one of your offices right now on site remediation, where you hired a great manager. But he's very different from a lot of the other managers who've been with the department for many years. They're like, yeah, well, it just takes more time and they'll do it when they do it. And this guy is like, no, I want it done. Mm-hmm. But having that kind of accountability and responsibility to get things done really makes a difference. Those are the kinds of internal reforms that aren't expressed in statute. Right. Those are the kinds of things that have to be done by people who actually manage.
Yes.
That's my rant on that. The other rant I have is totally unrelated, which is this $300 million is the best thing I've seen in years. What I've been begging for, and your people in site remediation have been begging for, is the money to go out and investigate. And to the extent that people think that this is only, I shouldn't say only, but that this is primarily oriented towards EJ, it is, because you want to go into parts of the Iron Triangle in Richmond that nobody goes into, that you don't have developers coming forward with, and where we need to take a look at health and safety. But the other aspect of it is that if I represent a developer at site X and there's crud coming on from a neighboring site, your guys say, okay, we won't make you clean that up, but we don't have the staff to investigate it either. So it just remains there, even though your staff knows it. So this is enormously important to help not only clean up sites that would never otherwise be addressed, but to allow the more rapid deployment of sites that somebody does want to clean up, but that are impacted by someone offsite. So I'm really hoping that this goes forward and goes forward in a way that really results in change. So I applaud you for that, and hope it works out.
Thanks, Peter. And we are very tight on time. So although I'd love to have the management discussion, I'm going to resist that temptation and only say I am really proud of several emails I've gotten in the last couple weeks, just the last couple of weeks, from outside stakeholders saying, wow, your cleanup program out of the Chatsworth office is managing on time, on budget, on calendar, getting the job done. The US EPA we adopted a program for tracking all of our GPRA site mitigation work, and they are thrilled with the progress they're seeing. We have plans in place, not just for the department level, but also within the programs for continuing to improve our management, our performance, et cetera. So,
and Peter, I just have to add my 2 cents. The essence of what you're talking about, and thank you for that advice. You know, we are incorporating through our Lean Six Sigma projects, which are exactly designed to do what you just said, which is to eliminate non-necessary elements of a business process or over, you know, and I would say, you know, between when you were in my seat and today, there's probably been, you know, government makes a mistake and we react and we put a bunch of business processes in or steps in that convolute the process. And so we've been unwinding those steps. To your point, we've been strengthening our ability to make sure that we are transparent and accountable. And we've been implementing a culture shift through our leadership training programs to make sure that those that those core values are being demonstrated. And to Meredith's point, we're starting to see those results. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, Chris, you're next, and then Philip and Don.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My question real quickly is more in terms of process, in terms of when we can expect to see the formal release of the associated budget change proposals.
We are actually working with Department of Finance to finalize those. Our hope is to get them released in the next few days. And what I mean by that, if it's not by the end of the week, by early next.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And what you'll see is it aggregated into one proposal, Chris. It won't be separate proposals. It'll be in one comprehensive reform BCP.
and then I do want to say, with respect to the slide decks, the detailed slide decks, they all have to be made, you know, ADA compliant. We have a little bit of cleanup left to do on those. So you'll see those also before the end of the month, I expect.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, Philip?
Just one philosophical comment. In the beginning of the presentation, I get this rub about the partnership that exists in other states between the suppliers of environmental services and the regulators. And just a little point of comment. The way that slide opened up, it made us look like we're nasty polluters. And we're a stakeholder. We're an important stakeholder because without us, where would the waste go? Who would investigate it? Who would dispose of it? Who would treat it? So it's more of a philosophical statement. I just wanted to raise. The other thing, I'm sorry, go ahead, Meredith.
So I do want to speak to that because number one, in the discussions we had around our strategic plan, we really heard that from everybody, and we did change a lot of the elements of our strong partnerships to really talk about that relationship and the importance of that relationship. I think perhaps what I wasn't signaling strongly enough is that we need a level playing field. And so we want to make sure that the people who are polluters are being held accountable. The other thing I say over and over and over again, toxic chemicals, toxic substances are built into our lifestyles. It is irresponsible for California not to take care of all of that.
Manage its own waste. Yeah.
And you know, so it's really important. This audience, these stakeholders on this call are the folks who make sure that we can be responsible.
Yeah, and just a real quick follow-up question to that: are you also in your? I know you've got a lot on your plate, an enormous amount. What about the comprehensive hazardous waste management program for the state?
So we that was a big point of focus in the reform discussions last year. We think that it needs to be modernized. We can't just adopt it hook, line, and sinker the way it was before because it's not relevant, it's not feasible. And so a conversation needs to be had about that. My estimation is that's a good job for a board to do, right? A board could take that on and have a very transparent discussion about what that new hazardous waste management plan might look like. So I'm sure there'll be additional discussion on that point.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. Dawn, do you want to go?
Great, thank you. And thank you, Director Francesca, your entire team. Appreciate you guys releasing kind of this information. Certainly it's something that we've been kind of certainly hoping to see to kind of better help inform these discussions. So do appreciate that. And certainly our folks will be digging in further on that. Couple of quick questions, and I do apologize, I do have to jump to another 2 o'clock meeting. But with regard to the stakeholder meetings, clearly this is, a regulated community meeting. I presume you're holding separate meetings with community representatives and NGOs. I mean, as far as the upcoming briefings that were referenced, I mean, are those going to continue to be bifurcated, or will you be bringing the stakeholders together? So that's the first question. Additionally, just kind of building upon Chris's question about the BCP, in addition to just the BCP, is it safe to presume that trailer language will be accompanying that fairly quickly? And in that regard, should we expect to see the same, substantially the same proposals as last year? If they will be different, what differences can we expect? And then finally, just with regard to discussions regarding reform, I do have a concern just about getting through the briefings in February. I understand, kind of needing to get that under our belt and level set on that. At the same time, just given the budget timeline and the ongoing impacts of the pandemic in terms of bandwidth, time, capacity to meet in person, much less just dig into things, I feel like we're going to lose time pretty quickly. So certainly, I know our folks are eager to jump into that discussion. And as part of that, really just want to continue to put a plug in for appreciating the interest of, having the board work on the hazardous waste management plan. But importantly for our folks was the fact that as part of those legislative discussions and discussions we've had with you over the last 2 years, it's just the importance of putting very clear markers and commitments to look at some of the programmatic, regulatory, and process-related changes the business community and regulated community was looking for, not as a means to reduce the requirements in terms of environmental protection and public health, community health, but really, there could be some different ways that our folks really believe we could still maintain kind of those objectives and those requirements, in terms of health of all those particular aspects, but doing so in perhaps some different ways that could provide some efficiencies, kind of expedite, outcomes and effectiveness. So I know that's a lot, I apologize, but I do look forward to continued conversations on that.
Great. So Deanna, do you want to talk about the structure of the bifurcation and the detailed?
Yeah, so in regards to structure, that's going to be a combined structure. So because they're going to be so detailed, so it's going to be something that individuals can sign up for all the 3 or one of 3, depending on their interest. So there's going to be a Safer Consumers, Hazardous Waste Management Program with the 4 different subdivision programs, and then you have site mitigation. And that's going to be welcome to anybody at this point. And then on the second question regarding the BCP and the trailer bill, do you want to take that?
Yeah.
And I know you have to go, Dawn, but we can do a second meeting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the proposal will look very similar to last year. It will not be identical. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, I don't want to speak off the cuff about what's particularly different, but we did learn a lot during the 995 discussions. And so some of that may be reflected.
Yeah.
In the trailer bill language. You're right about the timeline. It is a lot to do in a short period of time. We are getting used to functioning with little sleep. I think Francesca and her team especially are really just pushing and pushing and pushing. We will make ourselves available. Nothing is more important for this department right now? Nothing. And very few things are more important to the secretary. So the conversations have to happen, and they have to happen soon. So.
Thank you for that.
Okay. Matthew?
Yeah, just a quick question to follow up with the earlier conversation on showing the budgetary needs and the additional staffing and all the other pieces that go with it. I know you're going to have some more slide decks and things that kind of go through those details. Will we also see the redundancies that are falling out, the Sigma 6 improvements, and the types of things where we're going to save or have a improved DTSC and activity and that kind of thing? So we'll see both sides, right?
Yes, the slide decks include not only data that's presented on the hours available, the outputs, the classification structure that we have, meaning technical staff versus administrative staff in each of the programs, but it also includes a discussion of the Lean Six Sigma projects and improvement processes that we've implemented and what the outputs of those processes have been. For example, reducing the time it takes to calculate a penalty by 60% as an example, or with the permitting program, we've done so many Lean Six Sigma projects on different elements of their end-to-end process. I can't even recall exactly how many. That's almost a separate presentation in and of itself, but we have never stopped. When we implement one Lean Six Sigma project, we look for the next business opportunity to continue to improve the overall permitting program. We don't stop with just a single Lean Six Sigma project. We keep dissecting it. And for those of you who are familiar with that, we look at where those projects might cause bottlenecks. And then we go to that part of the process and we do a lean on that section. We have a culture. At one point, we had the second highest number of Lean Six Sigma projects in the state, only second to Caltrans, which has a $10 billion budget and 20 to 22,000 employees. So we've continued beyond that. I don't know what their count is today, but we have trained black belts now in the organization, as well as a number of green belts for those of you familiar with the process.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Philip?
Yeah, so a quick follow-up to what Matt said. In our company today, we have a lot of inspections that are done by the California Highway Patrol. The truck teams come and inspect us. And of course, with COVID-19, that's been a challenge, but they're still getting back into it. Have you thought about collaboration and coordination between agencies so that, for instance, the hazardous waste truck inspections that you want to do could be done by the CHIPS folks? And that way you'd be able to conserve resources and maybe use them in other ways to benefit your program.
That's a great question. We do partner with our local agencies to conduct inspections. We have particular expertise that they don't have, but we're always looking for ways where we can leverage resources in other agencies to collect and to collaborate. And I know in that particular area, we are partnering.
Thank you.
Okay. And then I have one more question on the chat. And this is a question that was basically have you looked at how you could better allocate responsibilities with the regional water board and CUPAs, for example, dry cleaners?
So this is a question that comes up over and over and over again. What goes to the water board versus what comes to DTSC? I don't know if Grant Cope's online. He might be able to answer it in more detail, but generally speaking, there's no clear bright line. Well, there is a clear bright line for the starting point of the conversation of who should be responsible for a cleanup. But as with, it's dealt with at a very case-by-case level to make sure that it's appropriate, who take responsibility is appropriate. But I will say, I know this is going to be something that's discussed further. I don't know if Grant's online and wants to add anything, or Francesca, if you want to add anything.
No, I would just say that, we're always, the the Office of the Secretary is looking for ways across BDOs to increase efficiencies. It's got a strategic plan that it's finalizing that everybody's contributing to, and it will look at those efficiencies, as a subset of that. And I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're looking at some of our administrative processes to standardize them and bring about efficiency so that we can lower that administrative element that Winston, I think, and maybe Peter referred to earlier in their comments.
Okay. And with that, that's all I have all the questions I have on the chat. I don't know if there's any last minute questions, and just being respectful is 2:06, so definitely don't want to keep the folks on the line. Again, if folks don't have any questions, again, this is not the last time we're going to be meeting with each other. We're going to be sending out with the slide, with this presentation, and also an invitation to the core briefings that we mentioned in the next 2 days, 2 to 3 days. So please expect that for the individuals who signed up for this briefing. If anybody else wants to sign up, please forward that email, and then they have to do self-registration. And with that, I'll just leave it to Dr. Williams to close it.
We'll say it one last time. This is the first conversation among many. We are counting on your engagement, your feedback, your, kicking the tires on our findings. It's a lot of information to digest, and we would really appreciate all the questions today. They were very thoughtful. It tells me that you guys are ready to go in terms of having this conversation. Gives us a better sense of, where you want us to put our attention. So we will do our best to be prepared for the subsequent conversations, but I think this was a great start. So thank you all for taking the time.